Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by Cars.com. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thanks very much for joining us for our MotorWeek podcast number 17. And around our table today are two road test and podcast veterans. Our road test producer, Brian Robinson.
Hello.
And I've been describing him as our writer extraordinaire, Shamit Choksi, who I don't have another term for.
Unfortunately, extraordinaire doesn't get me a raise in my paycheck, but that's okay. I'm very happy to be here.
and we're extremely happy to be joined by our podcast producer and our chief publicist, Michelle Parker.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
I thought I'd throw some French
We're not
in.
testing a French car today. Now, you even want to know Italian for the Chrysler Fiat tie-up? Okay, coming up, we're also going to have our lightning round at the end of the podcast, and we will look into our MotorWeek mailbag. But first, I'm going to turn to Brian Robinson. Let's get things rolling. We're going to be talking a lot about hybrids today. First up, the Lexus HS250H Hybrid. What's so special about another Lexus hybrid?
Well, John, I'm glad you asked, because this is the world's first dedicated luxury hybrid.
What does that mean?
That means basically it is Lexus's hybrid that is not based on any other vehicle and will not be a non-hybrid model. And it's obviously a luxury vehicle since it's a Lexus.
So this basically is Lexus's Prius.
Correct. And it's not a Lexus version of a Prius, as I kind of thought going into it. It's, obviously it has the same system as all the Lexus and Toyota hybrids have, but this got its own engine, own electric motors, and very unique from the Prius.
And its own look. Very important.
And I think that is very important, because that could be a plus or a minus depending on where you stand from. I mean, a lot of people, let's face it, have bought Priuses because it says I'm green. This car will not be that obvious. So do you think that'll hurt it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the best things I can say about the car is it's very non-hybrid-like. I mean, it's like a true luxury car. If it weren't for the gauges, you wouldn't even know you're driving a hybrid. Now,
it's actually got the motor out of the Camry hybrid, so it's a 2.4 liter instead of the 1.8 that's in the Prius. So that means less fuel economy. What did we get?
You mean for the Prius?
Yeah. No, for the new HS.
Well, it's 35 is the combined.
Versus 50 for the Prius.
Right. So it's a shortfall of about 15 miles per gallon.
It's always their purpose for the car is more about styling and luxury, and maybe a little bit of performance more so than outright MPG dominance.
Hey, 35 is not bad.
Well, 35 is not that bad for even a compact luxury sedan, which would tend to be in the mid-20s or even high 20s, because they normally, not always, but normally would have a 6-cylinder engine. So this is a 4, and it's, by the way, it's Lexus's first 4-cylinder
Yeah, I was going to say that. I wasn't 100% sure if that was the case or not, but I think it is.
It is. No, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're the one that actually drove the car.
Correct.
Could you even tell it was a hybrid?
Yeah, except for the gauge. Really, that's it. I mean, it drives. It's fairly quick. I want to say, probably a low 8-second 0 to 60, and it's very entertaining. It's probably the most entertaining to drive hybrid I've driven yet. The Lexus hybrids always have a little bit of a performance edge to them, especially in straight line. But this one even keeps it entertaining when the roads get curvy. It stays fairly flat in the corners, and they even have like a touring performance type package available with bigger wheels and tires to even make the handling better.
Would you go as far as to say, like, when you're driving, you actually forget that it's a hybrid?
Yeah, I would say so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a big deal.
Michelle, with your family, you see a lot of the hybrid vehicles that come and go here at MotorWeek. Does the concept of a hybrid interest you?
Yeah, I will tell you it does. That seems to be all the rage, and I've been reading about them and seeing, like you said, the ones that we've had here. And I would definitely be interested when my kids get a little older, we don't have as many strollers and that type of stuff to stash away, getting back into a sedan or, as we discussed earlier, getting back into a station wagon. But this car definitely interests me as having more room than the Prius, because I
Right.
My brother-in-law has one, and they are tiny. You can't really fit a family of 4 comfortably in there, certainly. And I do a lot of long road trips to see my family up in Connecticut. We're here in Maryland. So I would be very interested
Me too.
in
I'm with
a
you on
hybrid
that.
sedan.
Yep.
It is a sedan only, and it doesn't have the practicality of the Prius, which is the 5-door. But
I mean, it's a mid-size, right? I mean, it's a small
it's
mid-size, right?
between
IS and ES.
ES, right.
Just a little bit smaller than ES.
Okay.
Yeah,
How's
it
the
actually
trunk space?
It actually has the same wheelbase as the Prius, but it's longer. But trunk space is a good issue, and it's pretty big, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit compromised with the battery pack there, but you can fit the required 4 golf bags.
4 golf bags, and I think they
Not
said
sure how that
the
relates
trunk
to
opening is
strollers.
the largest in the Lexus line too.
Yeah, they did a lot with the ends, with the struts for lifting. It's really wide open.
Yeah. That
Very
helps.
nice new entry into the hybrid arena.
Also, one other thing, just the high-tech feature of it. I mean, it's got more. It's the most high-tech goodies of any Lexus. I think that'll change this fall when they update some other models. But it's got this Lexus Inform system, which is basically an OnStar-like system, but totally to the next level. I mean, you can call them up and ask them for a Chinese restaurant or whatever, and they'll suggest a couple, and then they will download the directions to your nav and stuff like that. You can even they have a dedicated section on their website where you can go in and put things to download to your car from your computer, stuff like that.
More of that mobile concierge aspect.
Does it have the DVD player?
Oh, the DVD for the back seat?
I don't believe
I think that's
so.
a
That's
dealer
essential for
installed
me.
accessory. You can get it from the dealer, I think.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Speaking of sedans and hybrids, for a different approach to hybrid, we turn to Shamid, and you're going to tell us about the Mercedes-Benz S400 Hybrid.
Yeah, it's very, very different from
Flagship
what we were just talking
car.
about. Flagship car, but it's we're talking about a $100,000 hybrid, which is a little bit oxymoronic.
Well, they do have them at Lexus, too.
Yeah.
But
well,
this is more of a mild hybrid, right?
It is a mild hybrid. There's a couple of significant things about this. First of all, it's Mercedes-Benz's first hybrid. Second of all, it is the first mass-produced car in the world with a lithium-ion battery, which is kind of a big deal. We've been talking about lithium-ions for a number of years now. So I drove this thing out in Germany on the Autobahn. No matter what anybody says, and I heard a lot of people complaining that it's not, it lacks the power of the S-Class. Of course it does. It's a hybrid, but it's still it's great. I mean, it has almost 300 horsepower. It moves to me, it moves like a freight train, and it still gives you 30 miles to the gallon.
They're complaining because it doesn't have as big an engine as most
Correct.
hybrids have all. The smart hybrids have gone to smaller powertrains, letting the electric motor pick up the slack.
It's for the people that have the money to spend. I don't think it's for people who really care about fuel economy as much as they care about appearing eco-conscious and appearing socially conscious, and still they don't want to give up luxury. This car has everything. We were just talking about in the last podcast, we're talking about 7 Series. This is Benz's big flagship. But again, I mean, a car this large, giving you 30 miles to the gallon, and having all the bells and whistles, there's nothing.
That's
like
pretty
it.
impressive.
On top of that, just in terms of S-Class itself, it comes with all the, all the luxury accoutrements. There's on the inside, there's a split-screen interface. This has nothing to do with it being a hybrid, but this is kind of amazing. The passenger can watch a movie without the driver being able to see that movie. So it's a split screen.
That's not very fair.
No, it's not fair, but,
But
at
it's
least it won't-
legal.
yeah. So
I don't think we want the drivers watching movies.
Texting was a danger. Huh?
yeah. But it was fun to drive this thing out in Germany. I can't wait to get it in so the whole staff can get a shot at this, taking it out on the track and whatnot.
Okay. Thanks very much. And let's turn now to our lightning round where Michelle's going to watch the clock for us. And we've got 2 minutes to kind of try and avoid the bell ringing. I'm not sure what happens if the bell does ring. I guess we just keep going on. Here is our question. The Obama administration recently cut funding for hydrogen technology research as it pertains to cars. This was announced by the Department of Energy. Was that a good move, and should all energy options still be on the table? Anybody got a comment?
Well, just because they cut funding doesn't mean the funding, won't come from other sources. But I would say it's good in a way. I'm not sure that's a popular answer, but just we're working on all these different things. To me, I think we need to pick one thing and focus all our efforts on that one thing. And I think we'll get better results that way than trying multiple things and from multiple people.
I don't completely agree with that. I think we do have to be looking at stuff that will bear fruit sooner, which I think is what was behind this move, because they're still going to do hydrogen fuel cell research on stationary generators and so forth. But, I'm kind of of the opinion is that we don't know what's going to work yet. I mean, hybrids are nice for now, but is that a long-term solution? So on the other hand, automakers like GM and Honda, they've got fleets of hybrid fuel cells rolling right now.
Sure.
So maybe it's time for this stuff to get out of the laboratory and onto the street. Well,
it's a matter of prioritizing, too. I mean, infrastructure is the biggest deal with hydrogen, and until we can kind of figure that out, I agree with the move. I don't think we should backburn hydrogen altogether, but, I think, like Brian said, we need to focus on certain things at the forefront and move ahead that way.
Because if you've ever driven any of the hydrogen fuel cell vehicles like GM Chevy's Equinoxes or the Honda FCXs, I mean, they're pretty impressive.
Yeah, but, we've been hearing about them for years now. We've driven them for years, but I'm not, they're not getting any closer to being on sale. So
cost effectiveness is.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to come down to. No hydrogen infrastructure, and the fact is they're still very expensive. And you've got hybrids out there like getting better all the time.
Right.
Thank you, Michelle. All right. I guess that means we go on to the next thing, which, by the way, is our MotorWeek mailbag. Now, if you've got a question that you'd like to have us answer on a future podcast, you can visit our website at www.motorweek.org. And you can submit your question. If chosen, you will receive a free and very rare MotorWeek T-shirt.
It's lovely.
Is that 100% free? I mean,
it's 100%. Well, actually, we pay for the postage.
Cotton.
Oh, really?
And 100% rare.
Here's our question from Scott, and I hope I get it right, Scott. Scott from Levine, Arizona. He asks, in these tough times, where are the good deals on mid-level to luxury cars like Audi, BMW, and Infiniti? And generally, I've only seen the typical deals from these companies, all the while seeing that these companies are leasing out large parking lots to stores with unsold overflow. When is the dam going to break so we can get a good deal on this oversupply? Well, my humble opinion is the dam is breaking, and it's one of the things is they don't want to advertise it, but if you walk into a dealer or you check the dealer sites, not Audi USA, you will find some very impressive deals. And so it's like anything, if you ask, you might get it, but if you don't ask.
Cash in hand talks very large.
Cash in hand talks very large. We're seeing. While we're not seeing the $5,000 and $6,000 off that you see advertised on some domestic and Asian imported vehicles, and believe me, that's really only for the big trucks. We are seeing $3,000 and $4,000 plus very favorable lease deals. One of the things that Audi, BMW, and I think Mercedes are doing also is they're saying that after you make your best deal, they'll make the first two payments, whether it's car payments or lease payments. Mm-hmm. They don't want to advertise that they're not selling as well. I think it's a matter of status.
I think if you look more like Infiniti and Lexus, like he kind of hints at there, the German makes have been around for a lot longer, so they kind of have a lot more of a loyal following that might still be buying cars, even though, Infiniti is relatively new in the luxury game, so, they don't have the loyal following that might not be looking for a new car. So my
understanding also is the lease money is still quite available at these brands we're talking about, and many of them are leased rather than bought.
Mm-hmm.
So when is the best time to make a deal?
End of the month.
Yeah, traditionally it is the end of the month. They all have sales quotas they have to meet, and so that is. And if you look at incentives, if you keep up with either the manufacturer websites or somebody like Cars.com, which has all the incentive information listed there, they get better as the month goes on.
You just do a little homework, and you can actually save yourself a few grand.
You got to do a lot of homework. I think you got to go in these days and have spent hours on it. You're still not going to have more knowledge than the sales consultant, but you need to be well armed.
I don't know about that.
Well, as far as making the deal.
Well, if you mentioned leasing, I mean, if you don't need brand new, all these cars coming off lease. All these luxury makers have tons of gently used vehicles off lease that they're looking to get rid of.
And
that's a real good point.
And they all have, they're all warranted. So you don't have to worry about the service end of it.
Yeah, they'll usually after a 2-year or 3-year lease, because most of these vehicles have a 5-year lease. You've got a couple years worth of the factory warranty, plus then they go through this, normally the certified used car routine and everything's replaced. So if you don't mind a 2 or 3 year old BMW or Mercedes or Audi or even Infiniti, there's some wonderful, wonderful deals on those. Big parking lots full. Thanks, Scott, very much for your question. And I guess that brings us to the end of our MotorWeek podcast. Once again, I want to thank our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and Michelle Parker. Thanks very much for producing the podcast and for being a part of our group today.
And remember, check out MotorWeek on Facebook, on the Facebook fan page for MotorWeek, and join us. Check us out. We have videos, road test diaries, the latest on what John's doing, what Brian's doing, what Shamit's doing. You won't want to miss it.
You can find our road test at lots of places. We have the most recent ones on our website, but Cars.com, our partner, has well over 300 of our MotorWeek roadcasts. So if you're in the market for a used car and you want to see what we thought of it, it's all there at Cars.com. Till next time, I'm John Davis for the whole gang. Thanks for joining us here at MotorWeek.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by Cars.com. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.